What if I told you that over 80 years ago, a man stood on the edge of changing everything? Not metaphorically, not theoretically. Everything. The way you heat your home, the way you power your car, the way entire nations operate, bought, sold, and controlled by whoever holds the switch. This man had found the switch, and then he disappeared. January 7th, 1943. Room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. A man who once lit up entire cities was found dead, alone, in a dark room. The official story? Natural causes. Old age? A forgotten genius who simply faded away. But here's what the official story doesn't tell you. Within hours of his death, before the body was even cold, agents from the United States Office of Alien Property swept into that hotel room and seized everything. Documents, blueprints, notebooks filled with calculations that reportedly took teams of scientists years to begin deciphering. They weren't searching for the possessions of a forgotten old man. They were burying a library. His name was Nikola Tesla, and tonight we dig up what they buried. To understand what was silenced, you have to understand what was being said. It is 1901. The world still runs on candlelight and coal. Horses still outnumber automobiles. And a Serbian-American inventor named Nikola Tesla is standing on a plot of land in Shoreham, New York, staring at the sky, with a vision so enormous it sounds like madness. He wants to electrify the Earth itself, not city by city, not street by street, the entire planet. He called it Wardenclyffe Tower, 187 feet of wood and steel, topped with a 55-ton copper dome, designed to transmit electrical energy wirelessly through the Earth's own resonance. No cables, no meters, no bills, free electricity for every human being on the planet. Think about that for a moment. Not cheap electricity, not subsidized electricity, free. Tesla believed the Earth was a conductor, that if you could tap into the natural frequency of the planet itself, a frequency he had been studying for years, you could transmit unlimited power anywhere on Earth, the way a radio transmits sound. He wrote in his notes, "The Earth itself will carry the current. The whole world will be my circuit." This was not the raving of a madman. Tesla had already demonstrated wireless transmission of electricity. He had already lit fluorescent tubes without wires from across a room. He had already created artificial lightning bolts that dwarfed nature's own. He had already invented the alternating current systems that still power your home today. Wardenclyffe wasn't science fiction, it was science. And somewhere, in a boardroom in Manhattan, a man named J.P. Morgan was reading the reports and beginning to understand exactly what that meant. J.P. Morgan was not merely a banker. He was an empire. He controlled railroads, steel, and finance on a scale that had never been seen in American history. But more than any of that, J.P. Morgan controlled energy. His investments were woven into the very infrastructure of power generation and distribution across the United States. He had helped fund Tesla's Wardenclyffe project himself, to the tune of $150,000, a fortune in 1901. But Morgan had assumed he was funding a communications tower, a transatlantic wireless system that he could meter, control, and profit from. What he got instead was something that couldn't be metered at all. When Morgan finally understood the full scope of Tesla's vision, when he grasped that Tesla wasn't building a communications network, he was building a free energy grid, he reportedly asked a single, devastating question: where do we put the meter? There was no answer, because that was the whole point. By 1903, Morgan's funding stopped completely, and with it, so did everything else. He hasn't published in years. He rarely speaks to the press anymore, but he hadn't stopped thinking. In his final years, Tesla claimed to be working on something he called a death ray, a directed energy weapon of such power that, he said, it would make war obsolete. Not because nations would use it, but because no nation would dare start a conflict knowing their enemy had it. He called it a peace ray. He offered it to the United States government. They reportedly showed little interest. Or did they? Because within hours of his body being discovered, agents arrived at that hotel room with a mandate that did not wait for next-of-kin notification, legal process, or basic human decency. They took everything: his personal papers, his technical notes, his correspondence. Boxes and boxes of material that represented the final working thoughts of arguably the greatest electrical mind in human history. The patents that touched on free energy transmission have still never been independently replicated, or if they have, the results have never been published. The shadow network doesn't announce itself, it just makes things disappear. Here is the truth they have spent over 100 years trying to bury. Tesla's greatest invention wasn't the AC motor, it wasn't the radio, It wasn't the resonance coil that bears his name. His greatest invention was an idea. The idea that energy, the fundamental currency of civilization, does not have to be owned, does not have to be metered, does not have to be sold, that the earth itself is a power source, that the sky is a conductor, that a human being in the remotest village on the darkest continent deserves the same access to light and heat as a banker in Manhattan. That is what they destroyed. Not just the tower, not just the funding, not just the man, the idea. Because ideas are the most dangerous things in the world. You can demolish a tower, you can seize a filing cabinet, you can let a man die alone in a hotel room, and then take everything he left behind. But you cannot kill a true idea. You can only delay it. And the delay, the 100 years of silence, the redacted files, the manufactured eccentricity, the demolished dream, that is the crime. That is the murder. Not of a man, perhaps, but of a future, our future. The one we were never allowed to have. The story of Nikola Tesla is not a history lesson. It is a warning. It is proof that the most powerful forces on Earth are not armies, or governments, or corporations. They are the stories we are told about history, and the stories we are not told. Tesla wanted to give the world free energy. What the world got instead was a carefully maintained silence. But silence has cracks, and you are listening through one of them right now. If this story unsettled you, good, it should. If you want to keep pulling threads, keep digging into the cases that mainstream media won't touch, the histories that were rewritten, the technologies that vanished, and the people who disappeared with them, then you know what to do. Subscribe to Beyond the Forgotten. Hit the notification bell, because the next story won't wait, and neither will the people trying to keep it buried. The forgotten don't stay forgotten forever. Not here, not on this channel.